Before we begin, I need you to do something. Subscribe to this channel, not because I need the numbers, because if what I'm about to tell you is real, and I pray to God it isn't, then someone needs to remember. Someone needs to know what we found in those trees. My name is Marcus Webb, former sergeant, United States Army Special Forces. What I'm about to share with you has no official record, no declassified document, no congressional hearing, because according to every government archive you could ever access, Operation Greenheart never happened. But I was there, and so were 36 other men. Only 3 of us came back. It was July 1967, the height of the Cold War. America and the Soviet Union were locked in a silent war fought in shadows, in jungles, in places the public would never hear about. We were told the mission was reconnaissance, a simple in and out. The Brazilian government had detected unusual radio interference deep in the Amazon basin, near the border with Peru, signals that didn't match any known frequency, patterns too structured to be natural, too erratic to be human. The brass thought the Soviets were building a listening post, maybe even a launch site. Our job was to find it, photograph it, and get out. 2 weeks, maximum. They flew us into Manaus under the cover of a joint training exercise with Brazilian forces. We were given fake names, no dog tags, no identification. If we were captured or killed, the U.S. would deny we ever existed. Standard protocol for operations like this. 37 of us, handpicked, the best. We boarded 2 Hueys at dawn and flew south, deep into the green. The jungle stretched endlessly below us, a living ocean of emerald and shadow. No roads, no villages, just trees, millions of them, swallowing the earth. The deeper we flew, the quieter it got. You'd think a jungle would be loud, but this one wasn't. Even from the air, you could feel it, the silence, the weight of it, like the forest was holding its breath. We landed in a clearing near the coordinates, about 60 miles from the nearest river outpost. The moment the rotor stopped, the heat hit us like a wall, humid, thick, the kind of heat that soaks into your lungs and stays there. The air smelled like rot and wet bark and something else, something sour, metallic. Captain Dre gathered us in a loose perimeter. He was a tall man, stone-faced, gray around the temples, 15 years in the field. He didn't waste words. We move in teams of 6, he said. Radio check every 2 hours. No one goes off grid. No one plays hero. We find the source of the signal. We document it. We extract. Clear? Clear, sir. We split into 6 squads. Alpha through Foxtrot. I was Alpha 3, under Lieutenant Mercer, a good officer. Fiddy, the kind of guy who didn't panic when things went sideways. We moved into the trees. The jungle swallowed us whole. Within 20 minutes, the sky disappeared. The canopy above us was so thick that sunlight barely touched the ground. Everything was green. Green moss, green vines, green shadows. The air was alive with moisture. Every breath tasted like copper and earth. We moved in single file, machetes cutting through the undergrowth. The ground was soft, almost spongy. Our boots sank into the mud with every step, and the jungle seemed to close behind us, erasing our path. No one spoke unless they had to. We communicated with hand signals, keeping our eyes on the tree line, but there was nothing to see. No movement, no animals, no birds, just silence. That was the first thing that felt wrong. A jungle this size should have been screaming with life. Monkeys, birds, insects. But there was nothing, just the sound of our boots in the mud and the occasional crack of a branch underfoot. Mercer noticed it too. I saw him glance up at the canopy, then at me. He didn't say anything, but I knew what he was thinking. Where is everything? We pushed on. By midday, we'd covered about 6 miles. The terrain was brutal. Thick roots twisted across the ground like veins. Thorn vines grabbed at our uniforms. The heat was relentless. Sweat poured down our faces, stinging our eyes. My shirt clung to my back like a second skin. We stopped to hydrate. Mercer pulled out his map and compass, checking our position. We were still on course. The signal origin was about 12 miles northeast. If we kept this pace, we'd reach it by nightfall. That's when we saw the first marker. Private Hollis spotted it, a tree about 15 feet ahead, with something carved into the bark. Deep gouges, deliberate. We moved closer. It wasn't a symbol. It wasn't writing. It was a pattern, geometric, angular, like someone had taken a blade and cut into the wood with surgical precision. The lines were clean, almost perfect. They formed a spiral that wrapped around the trunk, descending into the roots. What the hell is that? Hollis whispered. Mercer crouched beside it, running his fingers over the carvings. The wood was dry, old, but not ancient. Maybe a few months, maybe a year. Could be indigenous, he said quietly. Tribal boundary marker. Then where are they? I asked. No answer. We kept moving. Over the next 2 hours, we found 6 more trees, all carved the same way. Same spiral, same depth, same precision. They were evenly spaced, about half a mile apart, forming a rough line that ran parallel to our path. It felt like a perimeter, like something was marking territory. By 1600 hours, the light was starting to fade. The jungle grew darker, the shadows longer. Mercer radioed Captain Dre, Alpha 3 to command. We found markings on the trees, possible indigenous activity, requesting guidance. Over. Static. Then Dre's voice crackling through the handset. Copy that. Alpha 3. Continue to objective. Stay alert. All squads report similar findings. Over. Mercer frowned. All squads? Affirmative. Bravo, Charlie, Delta. Everyone's seeing the same thing. Spiral carvings. No contact. No natives. Just markers. Over. Mercer looked at me. I saw the question in his eyes. If every squad is seeing them, how big is this perimeter? We pressed on. Nightfall came fast. One moment, the jungle was dim. The next, it was black. We switched on our flashlights, casting narrow beams into the darkness. The beams didn't reach far. The jungle seemed to absorb the light, swallowing it whole. We made camp in a small clearing. No fire. Too risky. We set up a perimeter, 2 men on watch at all times. The rest of us ate cold rations in silence, listening. Still nothing. No insects. No frogs. No rustling in the undergrowth. Just silence. I tried to sleep, but I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt it. The weight of the jungle pressing down on me, like the trees were watching, waiting. Around midnight, I heard it. A sound. Low, rhythmic, almost like breathing, but deeper. Wet. It came from somewhere beyond the perimeter, just outside the range of our flashlights. I sat up, reaching for my rifle. You hear that? I whispered to Corporal Hayes, who was on watch beside me. He nodded slowly. His eyes were wide. The sound continued, rising and falling. In, out, in, out. Then it stopped. For a long moment, there was nothing. Then, from the opposite side of the clearing, we heard it again. Closer. Mercer was on his feet in seconds, rifle raised. Lights up. Perimeter check. Now, we moved fast, sweeping our beams across the tree line. The light caught bark, vines, leaves. Nothing else. But the sound was still there, all around us now. Breathing. Everyone stay sharp. Mercer hissed. Safety's off. Eyes forward. We formed a tight circle, backs to each other, rifles pointed outward. My heart hammered against my ribs. The breathing was everywhere now, layered, like multiple sources overlapping, some close, some distant, but all synchronized, in out and out. Then it stopped. Complete silence. I held my breath, straining to hear anything. My finger hovered over the trigger. Sweat dripped into my eyes. Maybe it was wind, Hollis whispered. Through the trees. That wasn't wind. Hayes cut him off. Mercer raised his fist. Hold position. We waited. 1 minute. 2. 5. Nothing. Finally, Mercer lowered his rifle. Rotate watch. 2-hour shifts. No one sleeps alone. If you hear anything, you wake everyone. Understood? We nodded, but none of us slept after that. At first light, we moved out. The jungle looked different in the morning. The mist hung low, clinging to the ground like a living thing. The trees seemed taller, their trunks wider, their roots more gnarled. Everything felt older. We'd gone maybe 3 miles when we found the camp. It wasn't ours. It was set up in a small hollow, half hidden beneath a cluster of massive ferns. Two tents, collapsed and torn. Supply crates splintered open. A radio set smashed to pieces and scattered across the ground. Spent shell casings, dozens of them, maybe more. Jesus. Hollis breath. Mercer keyed his radio. Alpha 3 to command. We found a camp, not ours, heavily damaged. Evidence of gunfire, requesting identification. Over. Study. Then Dre's voice, quieter this time. Copy. Alpha 3. Markers? Mercer glanced around. Negative, sir. No bodies. No tags. Just gear. Understood. Document and continue. Do not linger. Over. We spread out, searching the site. The tents were shredded, as if something had torn through the fabric with claws or blades. The supply crates were empty, their contents scattered and trampled into the mud. But it was the shell casings that bothered me most. They were everywhere, concentrated in one area, near the collapsed tents. Someone had fired an entire magazine, maybe more, full auto. At what? Over here, Hayes called out. He was crouched beside a tree, about 10 yards from the camp. I walked over. Carved into the bark was the spiral, but this one was different, deeper, wider, and beneath it, scratched into the wood in jagged letters. The words were rough, frantic. Whoever carved them had been in a hurry or terrified. Pack it up, Mercer ordered. We're moving. No, we didn't argue. By midday, the terrain began to change. The jungle grew denser, the trees thicker, the undergrowth so tangled that we had to hack our way through. Every step a struggle. The air grew heavier, harder to breathe. It smelled different too, not just rot, something chemical, sulfuric, like burnt hair and old batteries. Anyone else smell that? Hollis asked, coughing. We all did. Mercer checked the map. We were close, less than 2 miles from the coordinates. The source of the signal was just ahead. That's when the radio crackled. All squads. This is command. Respond. Over. Mercer grabbed the handset. Alpha 3, copy. Over. Bravo 6, copy. Charlie 2, copy. Delta 5, copy. Silence. Echo 4, respond. Over. Static. Foxtrot 1, respond. Over. More static. Ray's voice tightened. All squads, halt to advance. Echo and Foxtrot are non-responsive. All units return to Rally Point Alpha. Repeat, return to Rally Point Alpha. Over. Mercer's jaw clenched. Command, we are less than 2 miles from objective. Request permission to proceed. Over. Negative. Alpha 3 RTB immediately. That's an order. Over. Mercer looked at me, then at the others. We were so close. Copy that. Command returning now. Over. We turned around. We'd gone maybe half a mile when we heard it. A scream. Distant, high-pitched, cut off suddenly. We froze. Southeast. Mercer said quietly. Maybe a quarter mile. That was human. Hayes whispered. Another scream. Closer this time. Then another. Overlapping. Multiple voices. All from the same direction. Command. This is Alpha 3. We have contact. Multiple hostiles engaging unknown squad. Requesting permission to assist. Over. Static. Then Dre's voice. Sharper now. Negative. Alpha 3. Do not engage. Return to rally. The transmission cut off. Just static. Mercer tried again. Command. Do you copy? Over. Nothing. He tried the emergency frequency. Still nothing. Comms are down, he said flatly. All units. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the screaming started again. This time, it didn't stop. We have to help them. Hollis said, our orders are to return. Hayes counted. Our orders don't mean shit if everyone's dead. Mercer stared into the jungle, toward the screams. His hand tightened around his rifle. We move fast. We get them out. Then we extract. All of us. Clear? We nodded. We moved toward the sound. The screaming grew louder as we approached. It wasn't just panic. It was agony. Raw. Desperate. The kind of sound a man makes when he knows he's dying. We came to a ravine. Steep sides, maybe 20 feet deep. At the bottom, scattered across the mud, bodies. 5 of them. They wore our uniforms, our gear, but they were torn apart, limbs bent at wrong angles, throats open, chests caved in, blood everywhere, pooling in the mud, mixing with the rain that had started to fall. And standing among them, something else. It was tall, 7 feet, maybe more. Its body was wrong, too long, too thin. Its limbs bent backward at the joints, like a spider's legs. Its skin was pale, almost translucent, slick with moisture, but it was the head that made my stomach turn. It had no face, just smooth skin stretched over bone. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, but it was listening. Its head tilted slowly, scanning the ravine. Then it stopped and turned toward us. Down, Mercer hissed. We dropped, pressing ourselves into the mud. My heart was in my throat. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. The thing stood perfectly still. Then it opened. The skin on its face split vertically, peeling back like a flower blooming. Inside was nothing but blackness and teeth, rows and rows of teeth, spiraling inward, descending into a throat that seemed to go on forever. It made a sound, not a growl, not a scream, a hum, low, resonant. It vibrated through the ground, through my bones, through my skull. And then it answered from the jungle behind us. Another hum, then another, then 10, 20, a chorus. They were everywhere. Run, Mercer whispered. We ran. The jungle exploded around us. Shapes moved through the trees. Fast, impossibly fast. They didn't run. They flowed, limbs snapping branches, bodies twisting through the undergrowth. The humming grew louder, surrounding us, closing in. Don't stop, Mercer shouted. Hollis stumbled. A hand, long, bone white, tipped with black claws, shot out from the shadows and grabbed his ankle. He screamed. Hay spun, firing. The bullets tore through the creature's arm. Black fluid spraying across the leaves. It shrieked, a wet, gurgling sound, and released him. We hauled Hollis to his feet and kept running. Behind us, the jungle came alive. We didn't stop running until the humming faded. When we finally collapsed against a cluster of massive roots, our lungs burning, our bodies shaking, Mercer did a head count. 6 of us left. We'd lost one. Corporal Davis. I hadn't even seen it happen. One moment he was beside me. The next, he was gone, pulled into the trees without a sound. Hollis was hyperventilating, clutching his ankle where the thing had grabbed him. The skin was bruised, dark purple spreading up his calf. It didn't look like a normal injury. It looked infected, rotten. We need to move, Mercer said, his voice hoarse. They're still out there. Where do we go? Hayes asked. Comms are dead. We don't know where the rally point is. We don't even know where the other squads are. We head back to the LZ, Mercer said. It's our only shot. That's 30 miles through this, I said, gesturing at the jungle, with those things hunting us. You have a better idea, Webb. I didn't. We moved out. The rain came down harder now, thick, heavy drops that turned the jungle floor into a swamp. Our boots sank deep into the mud with every step, slowing us down. The canopy above blocked out what little light remained, plunging us into near total darkness. We switched on our flashlights again, the beams cutting narrow tunnels through the rain. But the light didn't help. It just made the shadows deeper. We moved in silence, weapons raised, eyes scanning the trees. Every sound made us flinch, every crack of a branch, every rustle of leaves. But the jungle stayed quiet, too quiet. After an hour, we stopped to rest. Hollis could barely walk. The bruising had spread up to his knee now, the skin mottled and discolored. He was shaking, his breathing shallow. "Let me see it," Mercer said. Hollis rolled up his pant leg. The wound was worse. The skin around the bruise had started to split, weeping clear fluid. Beneath the surface, something moved, tiny ripples, like worms crawling under the skin. "Jesus Christ," Hayes whispered. Mercer pulled out his med kit, but there was nothing in there for this. No antibiotics, no antivenom, just bandages and morphine. "We need to get him out," I said. "We're working on it." "He doesn't have time." Mercer turned to me, his eyes hard. "None of us have time, Webb. Now shut up and keep moving." We left Hollis with Hayes and pushed forward to scout the path ahead. The rain was so heavy now we could barely see 10 feet in front of us. That's when we found the second camp. This one was ours, Delta Squad, or what was left of them. The bodies were arranged in a circle, facing outward. Their weapons were gone, their gear stripped, but their faces, God, their faces. They were still screaming, mouths open, eyes wide, frozen in expressions of pure terror. But they weren't dead, not exactly. Their chests still rose and fell, slowly, rhythmically, breathing. "Are they alive?" I whispered. Mercer approached one of them, a young private, maybe 20 years old. His eyes tracked Mercer's movement, but his body didn't respond. He just kept breathing, in, out, in, out. Mercer waved his hand in front of the kid's face. No reaction. "They're paralyzed," Mercer said quietly, "or catatonic. What did this to them?" Before he could answer, the kid's mouth moved. No sound came out, just his lips, forming words, over and over. I leaned closer, trying to read them. "They hear you. They hear you. They hear you." Mercer stepped back. "We're leaving now. We can't just. They're gone, Webb. Whatever they are now, they're not soldiers anymore. Move." We backed away from the circle. As we did, all 6 bodies turned their heads in perfect unison, watching us. We ran. We didn't care about noise, didn't care about stealth. We just ran, crashing through the jungle, branches tearing at our uniforms, vines whipping across our faces. Behind us, the humming started again, and this time, it was closer. When we reached Hayes and Hollis, Hayes was pale. "He's getting worse," he said. Hollis was convulsing now, his body jerking violently. The bruising had spread to his torso, dark veins spidering across his chest. His eyes were rolled back, only the whites showing. "Can he walk?" Mercer asked. "No." "Then we carry him." Hayes and I hoisted Hollis between us, slinging his arms over our shoulders. He was dead weight, his body limp and cold. We moved as fast as we could, but it wasn't fast enough. The humming was all around us now, growing louder, multiplying. Then the trees started to move. At first, I thought it was the wind, but there was no wind. The branches above us twisted and bent, curling downward like fingers reaching for us. The roots beneath our feet shifted, writhing like snakes. "They're in the trees," Hayes shouted. A shape dropped from the canopy, fast, impossibly fast. It landed in front of us, its faceless head tilting, its body unfolding like a mantis. Mercer fired. The bullets hit center mass, punching holes through the pale skin. Black fluid sprayed across the mud. The creature shrieked, that wet, gurgling sound, and lunged. Mercer sidestepped, driving his knife into its neck. The blade sank deep, and the thing collapsed, twitching, but 3 more dropped behind it. "Go!" Mercer screamed. "Go, go, go!" We ran, Hollis dragging between us. I could hear them behind us, crashing through the undergrowth, their limbs snapping branches, their humming vibrating through the air. One of them grabbed Hayes. He screamed as it yanked him backward, its claws sinking into his shoulders. I spun, firing wildly. The creature's head exploded in a spray of black, and Hayes fell forward, gasping. "Get up!" I shouted, pulling him to his feet, but Hollis was seizing again, his body convulsing so violently I couldn't hold him. "Leave him!" Mercer yelled. "No, we don't have a choice." I looked down at Hollis. His eyes were open now, staring up at me, and for just a moment I saw recognition, fear. Then his mouth opened, and something crawled out. It was small, maybe 6 inches long, pale, segmented. It moved like a centipede, its legs clicking against Hollis's teeth as it emerged from his throat. I dropped him. He hit the ground, and more of them poured out. From his mouth, his nose, his ears, dozens of them, spilling across the mud, skittering toward us. Mercer fired into the swarm, stomping the creatures underfoot. "Move!" Now, we left Hollis behind. We ran until we couldn't anymore. When we finally stopped, there were only 4 of us left. Me, Mercer, Hayes, and a private named Kowalski, who hadn't said a word since the camp. We were lost. The jungle all looked the same. No landmarks, no clear paths, just trees and mud and darkness. Mercer tried the radio one more time. "Static. We're not getting out, are we?" Hayes said quietly. Mercer didn't answer. We sat in silence, listening to the jungle. And then, from somewhere far away, we heard it. A helicopter. The sound was faint, distant, but unmistakable. The rhythmic chop of rotor blades cutting through the air. "That's a Huey," Kowalski whispered, his voice cracking. "That's ours." We were on our feet in seconds, stumbling toward the sound. The jungle was still thick, but the noise gave us direction. "Hope. They're looking for us," Hayes said. "They sent extraction, or they're pulling out," Mercer muttered. "Either way, we need to reach them." We pushed forward, hacking through the undergrowth, following the sound. It grew louder, closer. The rotor wash began to disturb the canopy above us, shaking leaves loose, sending them spiraling down. Then we saw light, a clearing, maybe 100 yards ahead. The trees opened up, revealing a patch of gray sky. And there, descending through the mist, a Huey. "Go!" Mercer shouted. "Go, go, go!" We sprinted toward the clearing, our lungs burning, our legs screaming. The helicopter touched down, its skids sinking into the mud. The side door was open. A crew chief leaned out, waving us in. We were 50 yards away when the humming started. It rose from the jungle like a wave, a wall of sound that made the air vibrate. The trees around us began to shudder, their branches bending inward, curling toward the clearing. "Faster!" Mercer screamed. The creatures dropped from the canopy. One landed directly in front of Kowalski. He didn't even have time to scream. The thing's face split open, and it lunged, driving its teeth into his throat. He went down hard, blood spraying across the mud. Hayes fired, cutting the creature down, but 2 more emerged from the trees. Then 5, then 10. They were everywhere. "Run!" Mercer roared. We ran, firing blindly over our shoulders. The crew chief in the helicopter was shouting something, but I couldn't hear him over the rotors and the humming and the gunfire. 30 yards. A creature lunged at Hayes from the side. He turned, firing, but it was too fast. It slammed into him, driving him into the ground. He screamed as its claws tore into his chest. I didn't stop. I couldn't. 20 yards. Mercer was ahead of me, his rifle empty, his legs pumping. The crew chief was leaning out of the Huey now, reaching for us, screaming. 10 yards. Something grabbed my ankle. I went down hard, my face slamming into the mud. I twisted, looking back. A creature, its hand wrapped around my boot, its faceless head tilted toward me. Its skin began to split. I kicked hard. My boot connected with its face, and the thing recoiled, shrieking. I scrambled to my feet and lunged for the helicopter. Mercer grabbed my arm, hauling me into the Huey. The crew chief slammed the door shut, and the pilot yanked the stick. We lifted off. Through the small window, I watched the clearing fall away. The creatures stood at the edge of the tree line, unmoving, watching, their faceless heads tilted upward, tracking our ascent. And then, as one, They turned and disappeared into the jungle. Jesus Christ, the crew chief breathed. What the hell were those things? Mercer didn't answer. He just stared out the window, his face pale, his hands trembling. We flew in silence. When we landed at the forward operating base, there were only 3 helicopters on the pad, ours and 2 others. That was it. Out of 37 men, 12 made it back to the rally point. Only 9 made it onto the helicopters. By the time we reached base, there were 7. 2 died in transit. Blood loss, infection, something else. By the end of the week, there were 3, me, Mercer, and a private from Charlie's squad named Ruiz. The rest succumbed to the same symptoms: bruising, convulsions, things moving under their skin. The medics tried everything: antibiotics, antivenoms, surgical removal. Nothing worked. They died screaming. We were debriefed separately, isolated, told not to speak to each other, not to speak to anyone. The officer who questioned me didn't introduce himself. He wore no insignia, no name tag, just a plain green uniform. What did you see out there, Sergeant Webb? I told him everything. He didn't write anything down, didn't take notes, just listened. When I finished, he nodded slowly. There was no operation, he said. No mission, no signal. You were never in the Amazon. Do you understand? But you were part of a training exercise in Panama, a navigation drill. It went poorly. Several men became disoriented and were lost in the jungle. Tragic, but not uncommon. That is the official record. That is what you will say if anyone asks. Do you understand, Sergeant? I stared at him. Do you understand? Yes, sir. He stood. You'll be transferred stateside within the week. Honorable discharge. Full benefits. You'll receive a pension and a commendation for your service. In exchange, you will never speak of this again. Not to the press, not to your family, not to anyone. If you do, you will be arrested, court-martialed, and imprisoned. Are we clear? Yes, sir. He left. I never saw him again. I was flown back to the States 3 days later. Mercer and Ruiz came with me. We didn't speak during the flight, didn't even look at each other. When we landed, we were separated, sent to different bases, different cities, different lives. I never saw them again either. For years, I tried to forget. I got a job, got married, had kids, built a normal life. I told myself it was over, that whatever we'd found in that jungle was gone, dirty, forgotten. But I was wrong. 3 months ago, I received a package. No return address, no note, just a manila envelope with a single photograph inside. It was a satellite image, dated 2 weeks prior, the Amazon basin, near the Peruvian border, the same coordinates, and carved into the jungle, visible even from space. Spirals, hundreds of them, miles and miles of trees, all marked with the same pattern, growing, spreading. I tried to contact Mercer. His number was disconnected. I tried Ruiz. Same thing. I tried the VA. They had no record of either man. It was like they never existed. I started digging, looking for anything, any record of Operation Greenheart, any mention of the missing squads, any evidence that we were ever there. Nothing. But I did find something else. Reports. Dozens of them, buried in obscure corners of the internet, unverified accounts, conspiracy theories, people going missing in the Amazon, entire villages, research teams, logging crews, all near the same area, all in the last 5 years. And every report mentioned the same thing: the silence, the humming, the things in the trees. I don't know what we found in that jungle. I don't know if it was a weapon, an experiment, something natural that we disturbed. But I know one thing: it's still there, and it's waiting. So I'm telling you this now, not because I want to, not because I think it'll change anything, but because someone needs to know. If you ever find yourself in the Amazon, deep in the Amazon, past the rivers, past the villages, where the jungle grows thick and the silence is absolute, and you see spirals carved into the trees, turn around. Don't ask questions. Don't investigate. Don't try to be a hero. Just leave. Because whatever is out there, whatever we woke up in 1967, it hears you. It's always been listening. And it's hungry. I don't sleep anymore. Not really. Every time I close my eyes, I'm back there, in the mud, in the dark, listening to the humming, feeling the jungle closing around me. Sometimes, late at night, I hear it, faint, distant, that low, rhythmic hum. And I know, God, I know, it's not just a memory. It's a warning. They're coming, not just for me, for all of us. Subscribe to this channel. Share this story, not because I need you to, but because when they come, and they will come, someone needs to remember what we found. Someone needs to know why. Before we go back into the jungle, before we dig deeper, before we make the same mistake again. 37 soldiers entered, only 3 returned, and now I'm the last one left. Don't let them erase me too. Don't let them erase the truth. Remember, please, remember, I need to tell you what happened after the discharge, after the silence, after I tried to bury it all and move on. Because the story didn't end when I came home. It followed me. For the first few years, I was fine, or I told myself I was. I went to work, paid my bills, smiled when I was supposed to. I didn't talk about the jungle, didn't think about it, didn't let myself. But the dreams never stopped. Every night, the same thing. I'm back in the clearing, running toward the helicopter. But I never reach it. The jungle keeps stretching, growing longer, pulling me back. And behind me, the humming rises. The trees bend inward. The creatures drop from the canopy, one by one, circling me. And I wake up screaming. My wife noticed. Of course she did. She'd ask what was wrong, why I was drenched in sweat, why I couldn't sleep. I told her it was just stress, work, nothing serious. She believed me for a while, but then the letters started. The first one arrived in 1973, 6 years after the mission. Plain envelope, no return address. Inside, a single piece of paper with a typed message. Why, oh, you were there. YOUSCW. Keep quiet. No signature. No explanation. I burned it. The second letter came a year later. Same envelope. Same format. They're e-watching. SAY nothing. I burned that one too. But the third letter, the one that arrived in 1976, was different. It wasn't typed. It was handwritten. Shaky. Frantic. Webb. It's Mercer. They found me. Don't trust anyone. Don't go back. For God's sake, don't. The sentence ended mid-word. The rest of the page was blank, except for a single mark at the bottom, a spiral. I tried to find him. I called every number I had, every contact, every lead, but no one knew where he was. No one had heard from him. It was like he'd vanished. 3 weeks later, I saw a news report, a brief segment, barely 30 seconds. A body had been found in the Appalachian Mountains. Male, mid-40s. No identification. Cause of death, unknown. The body showed signs of severe trauma, broken bones, lacerations, but no evidence of an attack. They showed a photo. It was Mercer. I stopped looking after that. I moved my family out of the city, bought a house in the middle of nowhere, installed locks on every door, cameras, alarms. I told my wife it was for safety. She didn't argue, but I knew the truth. I was afraid, not of being found, of being remembered. The years passed. I grew older. My kids grew up and moved away. My wife got sick, cancer. She fought for 2 years, but it wasn't enough. I buried her in 1989, and I was alone again. That's when I started seeing them. At first, I thought it was grief, stress, my mind playing tricks on me. I'd be walking through the woods near my house, and I'd catch movement in the corner of my eye, a shadow slipping between the trees, a shape that didn't belong. I'd turn, and there'd be nothing, but I'd hear it, that low, rhythmic hum, faint, distant, but unmistakable. I started avoiding the woods, stayed inside, kept the doors locked, kept the lights on. But it didn't matter because one night I looked out my window and saw it. It was standing at the edge of the tree line, tall, pale, motionless, its faceless head tilted toward the house, toward me. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I just stood there, frozen, staring back at it. For a long time, nothing happened. Then it raised one hand, slowly, deliberately, and pointed at me. And then it turned and disappeared into the darkness. I left the house that night, packed a bag, drove until I ran out of gas, found a motel, and locked myself inside. But I knew it didn't matter because they weren't hunting me. They were reminding me that I was still theirs. I spent the next 20 years moving, never staying in one place for more than a few months, always watching over my shoulder, always listening for the hum. And every few years, I'd see them again, in a crowd, in a parking lot, in a reflection, always watching, never approaching, just waiting. Then, 3 months ago, I got the package, the satellite image, the spiral spreading across the Amazon, and I knew it wasn't over. It was never over. They weren't just in the jungle anymore. They were spreading. I tried to warn people. I posted online, sent messages to researchers, environmental groups, military contacts. No one listened. The posts were taken down, the messages ignored, the contacts blocked. It was like the world didn't want to know, or maybe they already did. Last week, I saw Ruiz, or what was left of him. I was walking through a grocery store, just trying to get supplies, trying to stay low, when I saw him in the frozen food aisle. He looked the same, same face, same build, but his eyes were wrong, empty. He was staring at me, not blinking, not moving, just staring. I walked past him, heart pounding, trying not to run. When I looked back, he was gone. But on the glass door of the freezer, someone had traced a symbol in the condensation, a spiral. I'm out of time. I don't know how much longer I have. Days, maybe hours. But I need you to understand something. This isn't just a story. This isn't just a warning. It's a confession. Because I lied to you, not about the jungle, not about the mission, not about the creatures, but about why I'm telling you this. I'm not trying to warn you. I'm trying to apologize. You see, when we went into that jungle, we weren't looking for a Soviet outpost. We were looking for something we'd already found. In 1962, a research team disappeared in the Amazon. They were studying indigenous tribes, anthropology, linguistics, nothing dangerous. But before they vanished, they sent a final transmission, a recording, 5 minutes of static, and beneath it, barely audible humming, the same humming we heard in 1967. The military sent a team to investigate. They found the researchers' camp empty, no bodies, no blood, just spirals carved into every tree for miles. And in the center of the camp, a hole, not a cave, not a pit, a hole that went straight down into the earth, deeper than their equipment could measure. They sealed it, concreted it over, marked the location as restricted, and forgot about it. But in 1966, the signal started, the same frequency, the same pattern, coming from the same location. They sent us to investigate, to see if the seal had broken. And it had. When we found the site, the concrete was gone, shattered, scattered across the jungle floor like gravel, and the hole was open. We didn't go inside. We weren't ordered to. But I looked. God help me. I looked. The hole was dark, so dark that our flashlights couldn't reach the bottom. But I could feel it, the air rising from below, cold, wet, sulfuric, and I could hear it, the humming, coming from deep underground, rising. Captain Dre reported it, requested immediate extraction, told them the site was compromised, but they didn't pull us out. They told us to wait, to observe, and while we waited, the creatures came. I don't think they were hunting us. I think they were fleeing, running from something deeper, something worse, something we woke up when we opened that hole. And now it's spreading, not just in the Amazon, everywhere. The spirals aren't markers. Their roots growing, spreading, connecting. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it wants. But I know this. We didn't find it. It found us. And it's been waiting for decades, centuries, maybe longer, waiting for us to dig deep enough to open the door, to let it out. And we did. So when I tell you to stay out of the jungle, when I tell you to turn around if you see the spirals, I'm not trying to save you. I'm trying to delay the inevitable because it's already here. It's already spreading, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. I've been running for 50 years, and I'm tired. So I'm going back to the Amazon, back to the hole, not to close it. I don't think it can be closed, but to see it one last time, to understand what we unleashed, and maybe, just maybe, to find a way to slow it down. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. And if you hear the humming, if you see the spirals, don't run. It won't help. Just remember what we did. Remember what we found. And remember that we were warned. 37 soldiers entered, 3 returned. And now there's only me. And soon there'll be nothing left but the spiral. Don't forget to subscribe. Not for me, but for whoever comes after. So they know. So they remember before it's too late.